Don't tell anyone about your success, not because you're arrogant, not because you're hiding, but because silence protects momentum. Most people don't understand this. The moment you start talking about your success, your energy shifts. Your focus changes, your hunger weakens, your discipline relaxes because the mind gets confused. It starts accepting recognition as progress, but recognition is not growth. Silence keeps you sharp. Silence keeps you grounded. Silence keeps you dangerous. The truth is simple. The less you talk, the more you build. The more you explain, the more you leak energy. Most people announce before they achieve. They post before they progress. They seek validation before mastery, and validation is addictive. Once you taste it, you start working for applause instead of results. That's the trap. Real power moves quietly. The strongest people don't need to convince anyone. They let outcomes speak because results are loud. Now understand this. Not everyone wants to see you win. Some people clap for you but secretly compare. Some people smile but silently measure themselves against you. And comparison breeds resentment. You don't need that energy around you. Success makes people uncomfortable, not because you did something wrong, but because your growth reflects what they avoided. Silence protects you from unnecessary resistance. When you don't talk, people can't interfere, they can't doubt you, they can't project their fears, they can't plant hesitation. Words invite opinions, opinions invite confusion. Silence keeps your vision clean. Now here's a truth most people never hear. When you talk about your success too early, your brain releases dopamine. That dopamine tricks you into feeling accomplished, but accomplishment didn't happen yet. Work did not finish, and once the brain feels rewarded, urgency drops. That's why talking kills momentum. Silence keeps the fire alive. Think about this. Have you noticed how the most powerful people speak less? They listen more, they observe more, they move strategically, they don't explain their next move, they execute it, because explanation invites expectation, expectation creates pressure, pressure distorts decisions. Silence removes pressure. You move at your pace, you grow at your speed, you fail privately, you win quietly. That's strength. Now let's talk about ego. Talking about success feeds ego. Ego wants recognition. Ego wants praise. Ego wants to be seen, but ego is fragile. It needs constant validation. Silence starves ego, and starving ego strengthens discipline, because discipline does not need applause. Discipline needs commitment. The people who truly succeed are loyal to the process, not the praise. They don't talk about how hard they work. They work harder. They don't tell everyone their plans. They let results reveal them. Now understand this clearly. Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is protection. You protect your goals. You protect your growth. You protect your focus. Plants don't grow faster when you pull them out to check. They grow when left alone. Your success is the same. Expose it too early and it weakens. Now here's something deep. When you stay silent, you don't give your power away. You don't become dependent on reactions. You don't need approval. Your confidence becomes internal. Internal confidence is unshakable. External confidence collapses the moment feedback changes. Silence builds internal strength. That's why silence is uncomfortable for most people. Because silence forces you to sit with yourself. No applause, no validation, no reassurance, just you and your work, and most people avoid that, but that's where real growth happens. Now let me say something important. You don't need to hide forever. You don't need to deny your success. But timing matters. Speak when it's complete, not when it's fragile. Speak when it's undeniable, not when it's forming, because incomplete success attracts noise. Complete success commands respect. Noise distracts. Respect stabilizes. Silence gets you there. This is only the beginning. Here's what most people don't realize. When you tell people about your success, you're not just sharing information, you're inviting energy. And not all energy is supportive. Some people will doubt you, some will question you, some will joke, some will advise. But even advice can poison momentum when it comes from someone who never walked your path. Silence blocks that interference because interference doesn't always come as hate. Sometimes it comes disguised as concern. Are you sure? Is this safe? Maybe you should wait. Don't take such a big risk. They mean well. But their fears are louder than your vision. And if you're not careful, you'll start hearing their voice instead of yours. Silence protects your inner voice. That voice is everything. That voice knows when to push. That voice knows when to rest. That voice knows what's right for you, but it's quiet and noise drowns it. That's why the world rewards loudness, but greatness is built in silence. Now let's talk about loneliness. People confuse silence with loneliness. They think if they don't talk about their journey, they're isolated. But isolation is different from focus. Isolation is when you feel abandoned. Focus is when you choose to go inward. Focus is powerful. Focus is where clarity lies. You don't need everyone to understand your path. You need yourself to believe in it, because belief is fuel. Now understand this. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they leak energy. They talk too much, they explain too much, they defend too much. Every explanation is an energy expense. Every defense is a distraction. Silence saves energy, and saved energy turns into momentum. Momentum is unstoppable. Once you have momentum, you don't need motivation. Motivation is temporary. Momentum carries you when motivation disappears. Silence builds momentum. Now here's a powerful truth. Your success does not need witnesses while it's growing. It needs consistency, it needs patience, it needs resilience, and resilience is forged privately. No one sees your discipline at midnight. No one sees your self-doubt. No one sees the days you want to quit. And that's okay, because struggle is sacred. You don't expose sacred things to everyone. You protect them, and success is sacred. Now let me challenge you. What if you stopped announcing? What if you stopped explaining? What if you stopped proving? What if you just worked? What if your silence became your strategy? Imagine how dangerous that would be. People would underestimate you. They would assume nothing is happening. And then one day, results appear and suddenly silence becomes shocking. That's power, real power. Now let's talk about timing again. There is a moment to speak, but it's not when you're building. It's when the work is done. It's when the evidence is visible. It's when no explanation is needed, because success that needs explanation is weak. Success that speaks for itself is permanent. That's why the strongest statement you can make is not a post, not an announcement, not a promise. It's a result, and results come from quiet work. Now understand this deeply. Silence is not passive. Silence is active discipline. It's choosing to delay gratification. It's choosing to delay praise. It's choosing long-term respect over short-term validation, and long-term respect changes your life. People listen when you finally speak because you don't speak often. Your words carry weight. Your presence carries authority. That authority is earned in silence, and here's the final truth of this part. You don't need everyone to know who you are becoming. You need to become it first, because identity is built through action, not announcement. Work in silence. Let success make the noise. There comes a moment in every serious journey where silence stops being easy, not because you want attention, but because growth stretches you. You feel misunderstood. You feel unseen. You feel like screaming, "I'm trying." And this is where most people break. They start explaining themselves. They start justifying their choices. They start seeking reassurance. But listen to me carefully now. This is the most dangerous phase, because this is where silence transforms from a strategy into a weapon. You don't explain yourself to people who are not committed to your future. You don't justify discipline to people addicted to comfort. You don't ask permission to outgrow environments that can't contain you. Silence here is courage, because silence says, "I trust myself enough to not need your approval." That level of trust changes everything. Now let's talk about fear. Sometimes people talk about their success early not because they're proud, but because they're afraid. Afraid it won't last, afraid they'll lose it, afraid they're not worthy of it. So they talk, they seek confirmation, they want someone to say, "Yes, you deserve this." But the truth is brutal. Confidence borrowed from others is temporary. It disappears the moment doubt enters the room. Confidence built in silence becomes unshakable, because it's rooted in evidence. You've seen yourself show up when no one was watching. You've seen yourself push when no one cared. That's real confidence. Now understand something profound. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution, and execution requires obsession. Obsession requires isolation. Isolation requires silence. That's the price, and not everyone is willing to pay it. That's why so few people make it. Now imagine this. While others are talking about goals, you're building systems. While others are seeking motivation, you're strengthening discipline. While others are posting progress, you're stacking proof. That gap grows quietly, day by day, until one day it's too wide to ignore, and suddenly people ask, when did this happen? Overnight success, they call it. They didn't see the years of silence, they didn't hear the self-doubt, they didn't feel the pressure, and that's okay, because your job was never to be understood, your job was to become unstoppable. Now here's another truth most people never hear. Silence teaches emotional control. When you stop reacting, stop defending, stop explaining, you gain mastery over your emotions, and emotional mastery is the foundation of leadership. Leaders don't react, they respond, they don't argue, they act. They don't seek validation, they create value. Silence sharpens that ability. Now think about this. Every time you feel the urge to talk about your success, ask yourself one question. Is this serving my future or feeding my ego? If it's ego, pause. If it's strategy, proceed. That pause alone will save you years, because ego rushes, strategy waits. Ego wants to be seen, strategy wants to win. And winning changes your life. Now let's talk about when people notice your silence. Some will respect it. Some will feel threatened by it. Some will try to pull information out of you. They'll ask questions. They'll probe, they'll test. Stay calm. You don't owe anyone access to your journey. Privacy is not secrecy. It's boundaries. Strong boundaries protect strong futures, and weak boundaries destroy them. Now understand this final truth for this part. Silence is not forever. Silence is preparation. One day you will speak. One day you will share. One day your story will inspire. But when you do, it won't be to prove anything. It will be to teach. It will be to lead. It will be to elevate others, because you didn't talk your way there. You worked your way there, and that difference is everything. There will come a day when silence is no longer required. Not because you want recognition, but because your presence now carries responsibility. That's the difference. You didn't speak to be seen. You speak now because others are listening. And when that day comes, you don't brag. You don't boast. You don't say, look at me. You say, let me show you what's possible. Because your silence built credibility, your work built authority, your discipline built trust, and trust is the highest currency. Now understand this clearly. When you finally speak, your words will land differently. People won't hear noise, they'll hear weight, because they know you don't talk often, you don't exaggerate, you don't sell dreams. You deliver reality. That's leadership, that's influence, and influence, when used with integrity, changes lives. Now let's talk about humility. True success doesn't make you loud, it makes you calm. It makes you grounded. It makes you grateful, because you remember the silence. You remember the days when no one cared. You remember the nights when quitting felt easier, and that memory keeps you humble. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking less about yourself. It's using your success as a platform, not a pedestal, and people feel that. They trust that. Now here's the final lesson. Silence doesn't mean invisibility. It means intentionality. You choose when to speak. You choose what to share. You choose how much access people get. That control is freedom. Most people are trapped by the need to explain. You are free because you don't. Now ask yourself this. What would happen if you stopped announcing? What would happen if you stopped defending? What would happen if you stopped seeking permission to become more? You would grow faster. You would think clearer. You would move stronger, because silence sharpens execution, and execution builds destiny. Remember this. The loudest voice in your life should be your inner one. The one that pushes you when no one is watching. The one that holds you accountable when no one is checking. The one that says, keep going. That voice is built in silence, and once it's strong, nothing can stop you. So work quietly, protect your vision, guard your energy, let results speak. And when success finally makes noise, stand still, stay humble, stay disciplined, because the journey that was built in silence deserves to last forever.